I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the REI Co-op Commuter Pack, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Starting off with the materials, we have a rugged nylon Oxford pack cloth. So that is the entirety of the outside of the bag here, and then it has a DWR finish. So you do have a little bit of weatherproofing already built in, and this does actually come with a rain fly as well. So you'll see where that is stored. But that is, because this is a commuter pack, it's designed to be able to kind of go through the paces with you. So that's where this comes in. The material itself feels really nice. It's kind of like a slick, it has like a slick feel to it, but I like that it's not overly shiny or anything like that. We do have a bike loop on the bottom here that has some reflectiveness on it, like a strip of it for visibility. We have the REI logo up top here, which is pretty subtle in the scheme of things. And then we have 2 compression straps on either side here. Those do block that main compartment zipper, which I'll get into in a second. But you can also use these to, they say to like attach a helmet to this bag. So if you are using this as like a bike commuter pack, then this is going to be a really great option for that. So you do have some additional storage options there, but it is pretty subtle across the board. We just have a top carry handle here. This never felt like it like hit my neck or anything like that. It is pretty simple. It's really good. It's like super skinny and pretty stiff, but it's really good for hanging off of like a really tiny hook, which we have here at the office, or like if on like a bathroom stall or something like that. That's a really great option. You're not really going to be carrying it by this carry handle super often, and even if you do, it's good for short trips and things like that. But it is a super lightweight bag. It's only 1 pound and 10 ounces, and it's a 25-liter capacity. So those two in combination make this a very light bag. So if you're going to be using this as a commuter pack, you're not, a lot of the stuff that you carry in here is going to be the majority of the weight. You're not adding a ton of weight because of the bag itself on top of that, which is really good. Similarly, the harness system is pretty simple as well. So we just have 2 straps. We have a sternum strap on a sliding rail, which is great so that you can find the best adjustment point for you. This buckle, it's a mixture of Woojin buckles and Duraflex hardware. And then this is a little safety whistle as well, so you can blow this if you get into, like, you know, if you go on hikes and whatever. So the actual back panel itself is pretty simple. You can see here I have a water stain, which I will explain when we get into the bag what happened there. But the actual straps themselves, it's like this mesh padding on the straps, which is kind of like soft and cushy and really comfortable. This right here is what's going to rest like more against your neck. And I found these pretty comfortable considering how kind of like thinner and smaller the straps are. And then this back panel has like a raised mesh material that's like, you can see I can push that in, but then we have 4 little panels here that are like a squishy, almost like a foam. It feels kind of like foam. But I think what this bag does really well is that breathability. So like if you're using this as a on your back while you're biking, that's going to be really great. Or if you're just walking around on a hot day, it's really good for that as well. And then we also have this hip belt down here that is removable if you don't find yourself needing it. So this is the backpack when it's actually on my body. You can see that it contours pretty nicely to my back. So I have a shorter torso. We did have Eric put this on and it looked a little comically tiny on him. I think he's got a 19-inch torso if I am remembering correctly. But with this here, it doesn't really feel like it's too big or too small, kind of curves nicely to my back. This hip belt here is really acting more as support than anything. It's not actually taking any weight off of my shoulders. The sternum strap does a pretty good job at that though, so I really don't feel like I'm missing it. Honestly, I'd probably just take this off for myself over, you know, if I was using this long term, just because it doesn't really feel like it's adding too much. But in general, the backpack does feel pretty comfortable. The shoulder straps are just nicely padded enough to make a difference without being overkill, and they can still flex with my body. So I think this is it's, you know, on the more comfortable side of backpacks that I've carried. All right, in terms of external storage, there are a few different options. So I'm actually just gonna start with this water bottle pocket. This is pretty beefy. I just in here have a 20-ounce Hydro Flask, and you can see that it's not like the most secure water bottle pocket I've ever seen. I mean, it's kind of, I'm hesitant to make too much noise there. It's kind of coming out of place. You could use these straps here to kind of lock it through that carry handle if you wanted to keep it extra secure, but you can fit up to like a larger water bottle, like a Camelback or something like that if you really wanted to. So that's pretty good. No really notes on performance for that, just works pretty much like any other water bottle pocket you've probably seen. On the other side here, we have a like little kind of half pocket here, or 2/3 pocket. This is where that rainfly is that I was talking about. So this just stays folded up. You can store it in here. You can also just take this out and use this kind of slip pocket for whatever you wanted. In here, I have a little 3D printed version of a iPhone 13 Max, or 14, or I don't know which one that is, but with this pocket here, I didn't really find myself using it, honestly. I think this is really good if you're going, like for day to day, I mean, but I think that this pocket is really good where if you're going on like a hike or something and you want some snacks and you kind of want them out of the way, like, you know, like a protein bar or something, granola, maybe something like that. This is a pretty great spot for that because it keeps it locked in place. It's not going to be like jumping around everywhere or getting crushed by your other gear, but it's also not going to be super in the way. And then this rainfly is like super, super out of the way. If you wanted to just keep that in here all the time, you could, and then you always have the option. Sometimes bag designers will put them like on the very bottom of the pack. So I think that that's a pretty cool solve. It's not taking up, you know, a lot of bottom packing space. Then for the other pockets, we have this base or this bottom pocket on the front, and that has 2 Velcro panels on it. This feels super secure. I don't love Velcro in general on pockets where I'm going to be reaching into them super often, just because when I stick my hand in there, I brush against this Velcro a lot, and I think that's just a me thing. But I'm not a huge fan of it. In the scheme of things, this is totally fine. This is great for just like a layer, an extra layer or two, like a hat or gloves, a baseball hat, something like that, something you just want to get to really, really quickly. And this Velcro makes it super easy to get in and out. This has a little bit of structure to it, nothing too crazy, but if you're not using this pocket, you can see it's gusseted a little bit, so it can expand out pretty decently. But here, if you're not using this, it stays pretty close to the bag's profile. So even if you don't use it super often, it's still fine. And then this was my favorite pocket on the bag. So this is the little top pocket. You can see I have a lock for the gym here, and then I have my wallet and my headphones. So I found myself using this a lot for anything that I want quick access to. I did put my keys in here a lot, although that's not technically where they're supposed to go, which I'll show you that when we get into the main compartment. But the disadvantage of this is that you have to just make sure you zip this back up before you open the bag because of the way the bag opens. So this though, like, it's a pretty roomy drop pocket, so I never found myself really needing more space than what was in here. And similar to this bottom pocket down here, if you don't fill this up with a bunch of gear, it doesn't look like weird and floppy and get in the way or anything like that. So this is where I usually put the smaller items that I wanted quick access to. Here is where I put the larger items I wanted quick access to. And then this side pocket was where I put all of the other stuff that I probably don't need that often. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. So now we'll get into the main compartment. So if I were to, let's say, open this front pocket here, I'll show you what I meant by you need to make sure you close that. And again, user error. I don't blame the design of this bag at all, it's just me. And because I did almost do this a couple of times. If you open this up, you can flip the main compartment pocket down, and that's really great for getting quick access to this. The disadvantage is that now this front pocket will be upside down, so anything you have inside could fall out. So just remember to unzip that. But what I really like about the design of this bag, there's something that kind of I'll just tell you what it is. So with these zippers here, I usually hate when we have like compression zippers like this or compression buckles that block the zipper track, because then you can't open the bag really easily. You can't just unzip it really simply. You have to either go underneath it or unbuckle it and then remember to rebuckle it. It's just like an extra step to get into your bag, right? But what I do like about this is that it creates a sort of like catch so that you know exactly how far to open down or open up this main compartment to make it like a top loading bag. So you can totally access the backpack like this. And honestly, most of the time I rarely opened it up all the way. I will for this video so you can see it that way. But for the most part, I would open this up really quickly, get access to this pocket or whatever. You can see it does flip down entirely. This is the design we've seen on like a couple of like Patagonia bags. I think it's like their black hole day pack or something. But if we were to lift this up, it's structured enough that it's not going to flop forward, and you can access that zipper from there too. So you don't need to fully open this every single time like this, because that means the zipper is also upside down, which means if you were just to unzip it like this, your stuff is at risk of falling out. But for the sake of moving along here, I'm going to open up the rest of this. So if you unclip either side, you can see this zipper goes all the way down, and then you can get a full look at the inside of this pack. So in this mesh pocket, this is where I put like some tech things. Like if I didn't have a dedicated tech pouch, I would put something like this in here. And then this is where the key leash is, which I think is an interesting decision, because this is a commuter pack. So theoretically you're going to be, going to and from the office, or getting in your car a lot, or, going to and from your house. And so for me, I needed access to my keys relatively often, but because the key leash was in here, it was so tedious to open up the backpack every single time. So what I did was I just dropped it in this top pocket. So that was more of like a everyday preference for me. I think because this is a commuter pack, I was like interested to see this little key clip in here, because if it's usually like primarily a outdoor pack, you're not using your keys super often, so it keeps them tucked away. So nitpicky thing, it's just as easy to put your keys in a different pocket. It's really not that big of a deal. But the pocket itself is pretty roomy, so that's nice. And then in the rest of this compartment, it's just open space. So this is like I said, 25 liter. I could fit, a good 1 to 2 days, or like an overnight or like a short weekend trip worth of clothes in here, in either packing cubes or just kind of tucked in there. But you can see it's a decent amount of packing space. It's super easy to load. Even if you have it, in that half design, you can get things in and out pretty easily. And then in the back here, we have a laptop compartment that's designed for up to a 13-inch device. So I've got the MacBook Air in there, and then this can also be used for a water bladder if you want to use this for outdoor as well. So it hooks in here to stay in place. You feed it through the top here, and then it goes onto the shoulder straps. This is where you feed the hose through. So that's great dual functionality. I did have an issue with a leaking water bottle, so it ended up, that was that watermark that you saw on this back panel. That was all that water that came through the main compartment. The reason I didn't have it in the water bottle pocket is because it was a big 40-ounce bottle, so I just stuck it in here, but it did leak. It did leak all over my laptop as well. And because this is just like a sheet of padding, there's a bit of a false bottom, so that's good. But in the scheme of things, with the water that came through, it just kind of dumped all over my laptop. When there's a separate compartment, there's more fabric between your water bottle and like your device. And so, it has more to soak into. In this case, it just went straight onto the laptop. So that was, I'm not blaming the backpack here. That was user error for me for not like closing my water bottle entirely before I threw it in here. However, for something that's kind of marketed as a commuter pack, it is interesting that there wasn't more of a focus on like a laptop protection or design or something like that, just because most people now, if they're commuting to work or something like that, for the most part they have a device or something of high importance. But as long as you stick your water bottle where it's supposed to be, which is on the outside, you shouldn't have any issues. Just something to keep in mind so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. So there you have it, the REI Co-op Commuter Pack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.